On January 7th, the Warrior Cats website team responded to the Frecklewish debate, and they are doubling down that it was not a mistake and that this decision passed through multiple people on the website team and story team. Let's pick this apart. First of all, the format of this article is a giant red flag. The Warrior Cats website articles tend to follow a format. They bring up a point of debate, they bring up examples from the books to support both sides of said debate, and then end without making a clear stance, leaving that up for the reader to judge, sometimes even making a poll for them. Black Star Redemption article? None of these are easy questions. Second Chances Redemption article? There's no easy answer to questions like these. Dark Forest Redemption article? These are not easy questions. Frecklewish Redemption article? Does Frecklewish really belong in the Dark Forest? The story team believes she does. Every other article the website has written about redemption insists that the questions are not easy to answer, while the Frecklewish article boldly declares that there is only one correct answer. The article on whether or not Frecklewish deserves the Dark Forest is completely one-sided. By declaring a solid and singular stance by the story team themselves, who are known to be in charge of deciding canon, they clearly want to silence fans rather than encourage discussion, the exact opposite purpose of fiction novels. And based on their past, it's also the exact opposite purpose of articles written for the website. They start off by saying they are writing this article because the opinions of Warrior Cats fans are important to them, but how can they say they value our opinions if they went out of their way to write an article to shut them down without addressing our arguments in any detail? They would be showing more respect for our opinions if they didn't write this at all. In my previous video, I said that I believe the decision to put Frecklewish in the Dark Forest was either a complete error or a decision made by someone who didn't read the novella. They insist in this article the team worked closely together and discussed this, so it's not a simple oversight. What's left for my statement is a sentiment that the decision was ill-advised. As myself and other Warrior Cats readers were quick to recognize, this article is filled with statements that completely contradict information presented to us in the original Maple Shade's Vengeance novella. Moon Kitty made a 33-minute video with her concerns, which I recommend and I will credit whenever I use a point she brought up. Does Frecklewish really belong in the Dark Forest? The story team believes she does. And the reason they use, I called Reason 3 in my video. She watched kits drown, meaning that she broke Rule 12 about neglecting kids in danger. However, in describing why Frecklewish is guilty of this, they make glaring contradictions to the original novella. In the original novella, Frecklewish is never seen at the scene of her supposed crime. As a result, we don't have many details. We only have the word of what happened after the fact. Through Nettlepaw describing Frecklewish's words, we know Frecklewish saw the following. 1. She saw Mapleshade fall off the stones. 2. She saw river clan cats on the far shore. That's it. She later says she thought the kids would be saved, but that's her conclusion, not an explicit thing she saw. So what does this article say Frecklewish saw? It says she saw Mapleshade and the kids get swept off the stone. Mapleshade yes, the kids no. No mention of watching a struggle of kits. For all we know, Frecklewish was too far away to see their tiny bodies. The forest is huge, the river is huge. Cats are small, kits are small. The article says she watched as all four struggled in the river. Nope, not mentioned. In fact, it's more likely she didn't see the struggle as she doesn't tell Nettle the kits died. Finally, the article mentions she witnessed Larch Kit clinging to a branch and whining for help, being swept away. But no, we are never told this. Frecklewish being guilty of watching kits drown is one thing, but this article is making up facts that are not in the book to incriminate her further. As Moon Kitty says, if the cats were truly swept off the stone by a raging river, they would go far downstream, and Frecklewish would have no idea what Larch Kit was doing. This is a false fact brought up to sway people's emotions while reading this article, because this simply did not happen in the original book. Now, you could say that as the story team, they reserve the right to write additional facts into existence. Isn't that their job? Writing? And while yes, they do have the freedom, I would see that as highly irresponsible. If the opinions of the fans are as important as they claim them to be, why would they deliberately write something into canon to upset them? Or even if they don't care about the fans, shouldn't they do their best to stay true to a book that is under their brand and not add details to it over 6 years after it was published? And do they even have a right to change facts? the story team may be in charge of Canon, but they did not write Mapleshade's Vengeance. Victoria Holmes did, who has since retired from writing Warrior Cats. And if anything, we have evidence Holmes believed Frecklewish went to StarClan. I highly doubt most of the story team has worked for Warrior Cats since before 2015, so there is no reason to assume that the story team understands Mapleshade's Vengeance better than we do. So then we have a few facts about the Mapleshade confrontation, and then this statement. Frecklewish shows no guilt or sense of responsibility for having watched Kit struggle while doing nothing. This is a completely false assumption. We only have little information about Frecklewish, and what we do have supports the opposite. As Moon pointed out, she was rasping at the scene as if she was out of breath and in shock. And while the website says she immediately snarled at Mapleshade, wishing she was dead, she does not. After Frecklewish says she thought the kits would be saved, she has to have Mapleshade prod her about being a fox-hearted coward who enjoys the fact that kits are dead. Only then does she say she wished Mapleshade was dead instead. The website's recollection of the events is out of sequence. Mapleshade has lied to Frecklewish, disgraced her brother's name, and was in the process of violently confronting her to kill her. There was no opportunity for Frecklewish to reveal her guilt or make a confession. She was too busy being murdered. The next paragraph says Frecklewish is careless with kits. Hello? Mapleshade was careless with kits. She was the one who initiated the river crossing. But somehow this river crossing is not notable enough to make it into the list of Mapleshade crimes. Yet, it can be the sole reason for Frecklewish to go to the Dark Forest, even though she was merely witnessing it. How is witnessing a tragedy unfold make her guilty? That's like saying, spoiler alert for A Light in the Mist, Violet, Shen, and Rootspring are guilty for watching Bristlefrost drown in the dark water. They could have jumped in and drowned, but they didn't, because they knew they would drown and didn't want to drown. There's an extremely recent example in the book of Flowerpod going after Birchface, who is drowning and also drowning. Does Frecklewish really want to do the exact same thing? Any ThunderClan cat who didn't know how to swim would drown. The article still whines about how she could have at least called for help. But RiverClan was there! Who was she gonna call? ThunderClan can't swim, RiverClan's already there. Who could she call? Myler the kitty pet? I'm sure he would have saved everything. As Moonkitty's video pointed out, going into a riptide to save someone goes against all safety procedures known, as doing so will guarantee you will lose your life in addition to whoever you were trying to save. Frecklewish going in to save the kits could only have resulted in her own death. Would that really have been better? No, that's not brave, that's stupid. The failure in this argument is the assumption that Frecklewish had any power in this situation, when she has none. So at the end of the article, the writing team brings up the StarClan is capable of making imperfect decisions argument that I brought up at the end of my previous video. However, this argument is completely out of place. I use this argument to explain why Frecklewish could be Dark Forest, even if she didn't deserve it. But they say they agree with the decision and that she does deserve it. So it's pointless to mention it if you're going to reject the situation where it could be relevant so quickly. Why are they so fiercely condemning a character who is clearly a victim? Does her being Dark Forest have relevance in a future story? I sure hope not, because they went out of their way to make this conflict as clear-cut with no room for future elaboration as they possibly could. If they wanted Frecklewish to return, they want her to be morally set in stone, pure evil down to the bone. And that would be boring. And if her Dark Forest status has no bearing on future story, why take the freedom of interpretation away from the fans? Let's compare their treatment of Frecklewish to that of Blackstar in an article they wrote last year. Blackstar was complicit in crimes of both Brokenstar and Tigerstar. He assisted Brokenstar in training underage apprentices and later kidnapping ThunderClan kits. Meanwhile, he assisted Tigerstar by following his orders and murdering Stonefur in cold blood simply because the cat was half clan. The website acknowledges all this and then points out the other side, that as leader, Blackstar made ShadowClan far less aggressive later in his life, and he even saved ThunderClan in the Battle of Eclipse. And then at the end, they leave the choice of interpretation to us, even giving us a poll. Meanwhile, Frecklewish, whose crimes are far less severe, does not get the luxury of having a defense written out for her. The article is 3 times shorter, and at the end, we just get a hasty, "Not everyone agrees, but we think she has no remorse and callow negligence," when in reality, there are a million points of defense for Frecklewish, and they just refuse to acknowledge them because, unlike Black Star, they have an unnecessary desire to be the winner of a debate. When looking at other cats, there are no easy questions, but with Frecklewish, they only give one answer and refuse to ask any questions of the audience. I dare them to make a poll for Frecklewish similar to the Black Star one, although currently it's impossible to log into the website to vote, so they have to fix that first. Dare I say, Frecklewish was not the one being callow. The party that is truly making quick and irrational judgment out of the need to preserve their ego is the Warrior Cats story and website team. So yeah, that's where I stand on Frecklewish. When making a judgment on a character in a novella, and your 2 choices you have for evidence are the 88-page novella itself, or a 4-paragraph article that makes assumptions that aren't supported by the novella and refuses to elaborate on a second side to the issue, please go with the primary source. Alright, bye everyone.